Hello, heroes. Welcome back to our channel and our reaction and review of the Fantastic Four trailer.
We do not know too much about the Fantastic Four. We've seen a little bit in the movies and, some cartoons probably, and Cece's read a couple comics. But we have actually already seen this trailer, but we thought, why not watch it again and give some of our thoughts about it?
With
So
all
yeah.
that said, let's jump into it.
Welcome to the Baxter Building.
We make a point to do family dinner every week. Sunday at 7, on the dot, no matter what. We're all here.
Herbie, how's that
I love
sauce
how
coming?
it starts on
Yeah, I'll
like
be the judge
a
of that.
vintage screen.
It feels very artistic.
Okay. Okay, is this guy good or what? I want to add a couple cloves of garlic. Not because it's not delicious, I just want to add a little bit of zip, okay?
T-5.
Before we went up the first time, you couldn't turn invisible. Ben wasn't a rock.
The best pilot in the world right here.
Yeah. Best looking, he means.
And Johnny never caught fire.
That shot.
Ben has always been a rock. Johnny is Johnny.
Hi!
And I am right here. Whatever life throws at us, we'll face it together.
The car!
As a family.
So as we talked about before the video, neither of us have a ton of experience with the Fantastic Four. I grew up watching the Fantastic Four movies that had Chris Evans in them. I remember seeing Reed Richards in Multiverse of Madness and Johnny Storm in Deadpool and Wolverine. And then I've also read the entire Civil War comic event in which the Fantastic Four plays a sizable part in. So that's what I have going into watching this trailer and going into watching this movie. I'll probably read a couple more comics before we get there, though. With that being said, that does give us the opportunity to look at this as people who don't know as much about the Fantastic Four as people who are obsessed with those specific comics. So it does allow us to kind of take a step back. And while we are still superhero people and still have a distinct love of the genre, it does allow us to look at this trailer as people who are being introduced to these characters.
Yeah, and that also kind of puts us in a place where, like TC said, we're always going to be like big superhero fans. We're going to love any superhero that you throw at us pretty much. But we do kind of get to be put in more of the shoes of the general audience, which is going to be really interesting because we're not very used to that. Um, we're going into movies of these characters that we love and adore and have spent so much time with, loving and adoring and spending so much time with them. So, I mean, we might have the opportunity to grow to love the Fantastic Four. And maybe, this is going to be kind of a turning point in the MCU. A lot of people are really hopeful for that, myself included.
I second that. So, with all that said, what excited you from this trailer? What made you really interested in seeing this movie?
It just seems so artistic and so different from really anything that we've seen in the MCU. There's some standouts from the MCU that felt very different from the rest. Like I think of Ant-Man, where like cinematography and everything, like those are similar for sure. But it had a very different tone, like a very different tone. And I feel it was a comedy. And I'm not saying that's what this is going to be, but I love to see different properties and different heroes sticking out as their own thing, even though they are in the MCU. This is confirmed to be in a different universe than all the other MCU movies. So I do want to put that out there. But yeah, just the artistic. I love the score. It just feels so grandiose and triumphant, and I think that's I almost wonder if that's just like a plea from Marvel, like, guys, we're still good. But I don't know. It definitely does bring me excitement. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, okay, interesting. I don't know how I feel. But then I saw it behind, um, I think Captain America 4, and seeing it on the big screen, I was like, okay, yeah, they sold me.
For sure. And you talked about the music. The specific score that we're seeing in this trailer is very reminiscent of like I want to say the 60s through the 80s. I'm
Mm.
talking like Star Wars. I'm talking Indiana Jones, like even getting into Jurassic Park. I think I just named just John Williams. It feels like a Williams score. It feels like Superman from the 70s.
Mhm.
And I think that's great. I think that there's a reason why John Williams is so well loved and so well remembered.
Mhm.
Um, little like Howard Shorey, talking about like The Hobbit. It's just the soundtrack that we're being given is a soundtrack meant for a big motion picture, a
Mhm.
big adventurous, fun motion picture. So that's really exciting. The other thing that really caught my eye, and I talked about this in our Superman trailer video, is the colors. It's so colorful. And it's like distinctly that Fantastic Four classic blue.
Mhm.
Like, I love it. It's there. It's so colorful. Even like when Sue Storm uses her powers and you get that like little rainbow effect, just the introduction of color there is fantastic. I forgot Galactus was in the trailer. So I saw the silhouette and I was like, because it's just that's an iconic villain. That's a villain that like I I've read comics with this villain. I actually just bought two comics and read them. They were part of the What If run that's coming out right now, and it was What If Galactus transformed Rogue and What If Galactus transformed Gambit. um and just like so it's a character that they're still playing with, and it's a character that is like an iconic Fantastic Four villain. And so it was cool seeing
Mhm.
that because that is a recognizable silhouette. That is a recognizable character from the comics. Where like even I, having not read a Fantastic Four comic individually, have been introduced to this character on a number of occasions.
I have been pretty hesitant with the MCU as of recent for a number of reasons. And as have some of my friends, including the one right here. And if you would have shown me some of the shots from this trailer years ago when things were really going downhill, I would have been like, there's no way. There's no way they're gonna go with those costumes. There's no way Galactus is gonna be there. But they did. And like I was saying, like I think this might be a turning point for the MCU because maybe it's finally time for not just DC, but DC and the MCU to embrace the comic books, to embrace the silly things, to embrace the even maybe cheesy things. But I think that there's a way to do that and not dumb it down to the points of, we watched Iron Man and it was like so believable. Not dumb it down to that, but to still make it have depth. I think you could somewhere in between that and like something that's just like right off the comic books that like is a little unapproachable, especially for like we were just talking about the general audience. I think that's the way to go, and I think as just comic book media in general, I think we're maybe heading in that direction, and that's really exciting.
For sure. Something that recent, like, I don't know, the last couple years have kind of reminded me of is those early, like, 2000s superhero movies that didn't want to seem like superhero movies. I'm thinking of specifically the X-Men
Mm,
franchise, where we weren't getting like the super suits. We were getting Mission Impossible suits. We were getting like spy v spy kind of suits. And then
yeah.
recently where we've been getting them like these color gradings that just kill the colors that are so prevalent in the comics.
Mhm.
And suits that are redesigned to look modern or hip or technological. And so something that happened with Deadpool and Wolverine, something that we've seen in the Superman trailer, and something that we've seen in this trailer is that they're not shying away from the fact that this is a comic book movie. This is
Hmm.
a movie based on comic book characters, and so we're bringing in those colors, we're bringing in those designs. We had the yellow and blue Wolverine suit. We had a brighter Deadpool suit. Gambit was there in a comic accurate costume that, while it was made a little stiff, the colors were there. You could very clearly tell that it was based off of his main costume in the comics. Jumping over to Superman, we're seeing the reintroduction of the trunk, which, I am very passionate about having my Supermans with trunks. It is a
Hmm.
reintroduction of comic inspired media that is not afraid to be inspired by the comics.
And something about this whole, bright colors and maybe a little bit more cheesy concepts that are going to be introduced in these movies is we've seen it before. We kind of have with the old stuff, with the classic. You think oh my gosh, what's his name? Batman, the old one. Adam, what is
Adam
it?
West?
Yes, Adam West.
Adam West?
Yeah, you think Adam West Batman, that stuff is so cheesy. And, with the stuff that we have now, sometimes if that's what you're used to, it might be hard to go back to that and to watch that. And like, oh, this is very cheesy. But I almost wonder, we will see from Fantastic Four and from Superman if these are well received. And like I said, I think they will be. And I think it's a combination of still embracing the cheesy and colorful and fun elements while again making sure that there is depth in these movies, in these stories, in these characters. And so a combination of that and the quality that we have now, we can make the cheesy things not look as cheesy because we have the ability to color grade the way that we do now and everything. So I think we have maybe figured it out.
Right. And you're bringing up these conversation points about the cheesiness about like these designs. The Galactus silhouette that we saw in that was a comic design where 10 years ago, I feel like they would have tried to dumb it down to make it a little less superhero and a little more like action movie. And one of the big parts of like selling superhero designs, selling Superman with his bright blue suit and his trunks, selling Batman delivering these little one-liners in this gruff, like Dark Knight voice, is that they believe it. The characters believe it. Every actor believes
Mm.
it. So like you can look at something that looks a little goofy, and you're like, yeah, that's scary. That's because the actors sell it to you. And yeah, we are getting back into this idea of funnier superhero movies. And I mean, you saw me turn around to my comic shelf back there
And I think it's
because I was looking for these. These are the Superman and the Batman Chronicles. These are collections of comics from, I think these ones are the 60s. And they're funny. They're funny and they have goofy villains and they teach their lesson in the span of an issue and they're enjoyable. These comics that are collected in the Chronicles are what made these characters so popular. And so by going back to the tone of those comics, going back to this idea of our superheroes are allowed to have humor, our superheroes are here to be heroes and make us feel good. The world
Mhm.
is scary, our world is scary, their world is scary, but we don't have to be scared because there are heroes. That's what they're there to do. And as long as the actors believe that they are those heroes and what they're saying is real and the person they're fighting is scary, that's going to translate to the audience. And the audience is going to feel that too. Thank you guys so much for watching. We had a lot of fun making this video and we hope you enjoyed watching it.
Well, you just heard what we thought about that trailer, so we would love to hear what you thought about Fantastic Four and all the things that we talked about.
If there's anything else you want to see on this channel, be it another movie, another trailer, or a TV show, let us know. Until then, we hope you have a great day and stay groovy.
Outtakes.
I grew up watching the movies that had Chris Evans in them. I almost said Chris Pine.
There
There's too many Chris's in Hollywood.
are.
I talk so much in these. I'm so sorry.